right here on GMA, and we're celebrating Women's Equality Day. 100 years ago today, the 19th Amendment, giving the women the right to vote, was certified into law. The August issue of National Geographic magazine is celebrating the women of the suffrage movement, and National Geographic's editor-in-chief, Susan Goldberg, she is joining us this morning to talk about it. Susan, good morning. I was just looking at the issue. It is so beautiful, so beautifully shot, so beautifully laid out. You know, and really, as we mark this anniversary, it reminds us how much work there is to do. We've been talking about it with the conventions. You've got Kamala Harris on the Democratic ticket and a number of women in the top ranks of the Trump administration. But this is sort of the point of the story. There's still serious lack of representation of women in government in our country.
Oh, there is. I mean, we are still arguing about women's rights. We are still arguing about voting rights. And when you look at the lack of representation, you've got women as 51% of the population, yet only 25% of the Congress. And it isn't even evenly divided between the parties at all. We've only got 13 women in the House who are Republican. And let me put that in perspective. There are more male Republicans in the House named Greg and Mike than there are women in the House who are Republicans. So there's a long way to go.
Oh, there certainly is when you put it in that perspective, too. So even as we were celebrating there in 1920, women getting the right to vote, this was not a victory for all women. Women of color especially left out of the process, and especially the recognition since then.
That is so true, and I think it's a really untold part of this story. I mean, everybody talks about Susan B. Anthony and Elizabeth Cady Stanton, but you don't hear about the contributions as much about Ida Wells or Harriet Tubman, who were very involved in the right to vote movement, and yet were marginalized and excluded as the white women in the movement tried to get more women in the South to sign on to the 19th Amendment. And it really ended up pushing those women aside. So when we talk about women getting the right to vote in 1920, it was really white women who got the right to vote.
It really was. And we also don't really hear about the battle, the struggle that it took to get there. And women put their lives on the line for this.
Well, you know, it's funny, even in the language that we use, and I just used it myself, we talk about women getting the right to vote. But in fact, women fought for the right to vote. They protested, they were jailed, they were chased by mobs, they were spit on, you know, they were tortured even in prison. It was really a shocking story. You know, these protesters, and of course today we see protests all the time, but back in 1916 and 1917, this simply wasn't done, and it wasn't done by women. So there is a great story of struggle. What we really need to think about is that this movement was one of the longest civil rights struggles in the United States. It went on for well over 70 years, and it's still going on today.
It certainly is, and we were just showing a number of the photos, and you use a lot of these in this issue, and they're really just really great to see. So I encourage everybody to take a look at this beautiful spread. Susan, thank you so much again. And the August issue of National Geographic magazine is available online right now.
Well, hey there, GMA fans. Robin Roberts here. Thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Lots of great stuff here. So go on, click the subscribe button right over here to get more of awesome videos and content from GMA every day, anytime. We thank you for watching, and we'll see you in the morning on GMA.